Hi, this is Holly Hawkins from Region 9, your Data Solutions Specialist. I'm so excited that your district has decided to pair with Region 9's Data-Driven Instruction Team. When our Data-Driven Instruction Teams come out to your district, they're going to look at reports with you based on the assessments you've given. So to help these conversations have meaning and really make them effective, we need to all be looking at the same reports built the same way. So there are certain commonalities that we need to establish. One of them is on your test keys. There are a few things that we need to make sure happens under your test keys. So if you go to test keys and you go to list and you look at the test key that you want our data-driven team to discuss, think very carefully about how you name your test. Several of you have decided by department, others of you have decided by campus, and some of you have even decided at a district level how you will name these tests. But they need to have a system and something that is easy to identify. So if I am following my guidelines of we're going to call this test a benchmark, or if we're going to call this test a CBA, and I believe you guys, some of you have even gotten really creative and called them SFAs, CBAs, checkpoints. So every district is unique. So based on my district, I might say we're all going to start with our grade level. So this would be grade 8. Then maybe our content level. This would be reading. And then we're going to put our last name. And then we're going to put whatever we've decided to call this. So if I've decided to call this a checkpoint, or I believe one district has even decided to call it SFA. And often some districts call them benchmarks, but whatever your district decides, go ahead and put that in the description so that it's easy to identify exactly which test we're going to discuss when we come out and visit. Another thing that's very important is for you to have these approaches, meets, and masters set. And for these levels, if you have not set these, you can go to a neat website by Lead Forward, and you just type in lead, the number 4 with forward. And I don't want the IQ. I'm actually taking me to the IQ, so I'm going to back out here. We just want to go to leadforward.com, go to resources, go to performance standards, and click on this raw conversion table. And it's going to give me, and I'm so blind, I'm going to have to blow that up a little bit. Going Control Plus, by the way, for those of you who are like me, Control Plus lets me make that a little bigger where I can read that. So if I'm 8th grade reading, I really needed my approaches to be 57. So I can come back here to my DMAC account and make my approaches 57. I can come back over here and say, what do I need my meets to be 75? So I can change that to 75. And then I need my masters to be 86. So I can come back over here and change that to an 86. And I hit save. I didn't have to ask my students to retest. I didn't have to go in and do anything other than set those performances and hit save. Now all my reports have adjusted to the new performance levels. So again, if you go to test keys and you go to list, you pick out whatever test you want to work with, and you go to header. Here's where you can rename it. Here's where you can set your performance levels and hit save. So any adjustments you need to make. Also, version number, I didn't talk about it earlier, but version number is important. Version number helps your administrator identify it off of a list when she cannot see the description. So again, systematically, you might decide to call all checkpoints or all CBAs will start with a 9. So anything that has a 900. So 901 was my first checkpoint. So every district has their own system. If your district doesn't have one, you should get together and probably create one. If you are not sure, ask either your department head or your campus administration to say, what version numbers have we decided for these assessments that we're going to be talking with Region 9 about. And let us know how you decide which version number and which description to come up with. But this is very important. So that way, we're all talking about the same assessment. The next thing that's important to get all on the same page with is on dashboards, you have what's called a one-click. If you've never set up your one-click, it's going to ask you to configure it. If you've set it up in the past, or if you ever hit dismissed and you can't figure out how to get back there, if you go up to the right corner, you will see the one-click button. So if you hit dismiss and said, oh, I'll configure them later, or you've configured them in the past, but you really just kind of clicked around a little bit, come up here to one click, and you'll see a list of all the reports that DMAC has available for teachers. On these reports, there are 4 reports that the data-driven instruction team is going to ask you to build. So if you've set up your one-clicks for a separate purpose or something that you like, you might write down how you do those reports and then switch it when it's time to do a DDI. When it's time to do a DDI team, we really just need 4 reports. So if you could set up your one-clicks for a DDI meeting to look like this. The first report will be your performance summary, and that's where we'll talk about what you just entered, your approaches, meets, and masters levels. The next report is your item analysis. Your item analysis, we're going to leave as teacher, 70, number, ascending. All this is going to stay the same as the way it defaulted. Teacher, number, ascending, and this lets us pair an SE with a question. And then we're going to come down here to student responses, and this is where we're going to make some changes. So with your student responses, we're going to change it from just teacher to both. We're going to look at it by both teacher and class. We're going to leave this at 70, but we're going to come over and we're going to change it from student to score. So we want this to say score. And we also want this to be descending. So we're going to change it from ascending to descending. So now our student responses are set up to say both, score, descending. The fourth and final report is your SE performance report. Your SE performance report, we're going to go ahead and leave teacher, standard, but we're going to change this last one to descending. So here I only have my 4 reports checked. I have them set up the way the conversation is going to go in our data-driven instruction team, and I'm going to hit save. Now, once I hit save, now when I go back to the test that I want to talk about, I click on reports, and those 4 reports are going to be waiting for me. So as we're in the DDI meeting, if I bring my device, I've got them right there in front of me. I don't have to take time to close one out and reopen one or go back and forth. Also, sometimes when you print these, you lose the color in them because a lot of us don't have access to a color printer, and seeing them in color really brings it to life. I know some of you are like me. I hope not, but if you're like me, as you scroll through these, some of this reading is pretty difficult to read. And if I just have it printed, unless I have my readers with me, it's difficult. But when I'm on a device, if I hold the control button down and hit plus, so while I'm holding control, I'm hitting plus, I'm getting these reports bigger, or now I can read them where it's comfortable to my vision. And so keeping these reports digital really does have a benefit. But feel free to print these. If you choose to print them, that's fine. You can come up here. My screencastify is kind of in the way, but at this point you can download them and save them for a future up here in the top right corner. So I can download them and keep a digital file of my assessments. I can also print. So it's up to you now if you want to download them and save them, print them into hard copies, or just use the digital. Because DMAC is going to save these. If I X out of this, I've still always got those reports saved right here with my assessment. So anytime I need to go back and pull these, it's going to pull my same 4. So when we go to our meetings, it's so nice for districts that have really set up a system of commonality. All your tests are named with something in common. Your version keys are all the same numbers, and your reports all look the same. And we can really have effective, awesome conversations. So we look forward to coming and visiting with you about data-driven instruction. It really